the dinar is the currency of Iraq. It is issued by the Central Bank of Iraq and is subdivided into 1,000 fils, although inflation has rendered the fils obsolete. History: the dinar was introduced into circulation in 1932, by replacing the Indian rupee, which had been the official currency since the British occupation of the country in World War I, at a rate of 1 dinar equals 11 rupees. The dinar was pegged at par with the British pound until 1959 when, without changing its value, the peg was switched to the United States dollar at the rate of 1 dinar equals $2.8. By not following the devaluations of the U.S. currency in 1971 and 1973, the dinar rose to a value of $3.3778 before a 5% devaluation reduced the value of the dinar to $3.2169, a rate which remained until the Gulf War, although in late 1989, the black market rate was reported at 5 to 6 times higher than the official rate. After the Gulf War in 1991, due to UN sanctions, the previously used Swiss printing was no longer available. A new, inferior quality notes issue was produced. The previous issue became known as the Swiss dinar and continued to circulate in the Kurdish region of Iraq. Due to sanctions placed on Iraq by the United States and the international community and excessive government printing of the new notes issue, the dinar devalued quickly, and in late 1995, $1 was valued at 3,000 dinars. Following the deposition of Saddam Hussein in the 2003 invasion of Iraq, the Iraqi Governing Council and the Office for Reconstruction and Humanitarian Assistance began printing more Saddam dinar notes as a stopgap measure to maintain the money supply until new currency could be introduced. Between October 15, 2003, and January 15, 2004, the Coalition Provisional Authority issued new Iraqi dinar coins and notes, with the notes printed by dinar using modern anti-forgery techniques, to create a single unified currency that is used throughout all of Iraq and will also make money more convenient to use in Fiopli Euro unregistered trademark's everyday lives. Old banknotes were exchanged for new at a 1-to-1 rate, except for the Swiss dinars, which were exchanged at a rate of 150 new dinars for 1 Swiss dinar. Since Iraq has few exports other than oil which is sold in dollars, there is little demand for dinars and they remain in exotic status. However, the new currency has sparked a multi-million-dollar industry in selling dinars to speculators. These so-called money service companies will sell dinar to speculators at an inflated price and push the idea that the dinar will RV, or be revalued to greatly increase the exchange rate against the dollar. The dinar is currently pegged to the dollar at a rate of 1,166 dinars and 1,164 dinars per dollar, as can be seen on the Central Bank of Iraq's homepage. The exchange rate reportedly available on the streets of Iraq is around 1,200 dinars per US dollar. There is considerable confusion around the role of the International Monetary Fund in Iraq. The IMF, as part of the rebuilding of Iraq, is monitoring their finances and for this purpose uses a single rate of 1,170 dinars per dollar. This program rate is used for calculations in the IMF monitoring program and is not a rate imposed on Iraq by the IMF. For a wider history surrounding currency in the region, see British currency in the Middle East. Speculation. On May 3, 2007, the IMF released a statement in relation to the international compact with Iraq, which has turned the tide in regards to speculation on the Iraq dinar. The contents of the article discuss changes made in Iraq on the economic front of how the Iraq government had eliminated fuel subsidies. The article also stated that the Central Bank of Iraq had raised interest rates in an attempt to allow a gradual appreciation of the dinar in an attempt to fight dollarization of the Iraq economy. Although there are claims of widespread optimism of some language used later in the press release among some dinar speculators, there have been no publicly released statements or analysis by any news sources or governments. In response to the growing concerns with fraud and scams related to investment in the Iraqi dinar, state agencies such as Washington State, Utah, Oklahoma, Alabama and others have issued statements and releases warning potential investors. Further alerts have been issued by news agencies. The Better Business Bureau has included dinar investments in its list of top 10 scams. There has also been a book written on the subject. These alerts warn potential investors that there is no place outside of Iraq to exchange their dinar, that they are typically sold by dealers at inflated prices, and that there is little to substantiate the claims of significant appreciation of their investment due to revaluation of the currency. Coins were introduced in 1931 and 1932 in denominations of 1, 2, 4, 10, 20, 50 and 200 fils. The 200 fils coin is also known as a rial. The 20, 50 and 200 fils were minted in silver. In 1953, silver 100 fils coins were introduced. Following the establishment of the Iraqi Republic, a new series of coins was introduced in denominations of 1, 5, 10, 25, 50, and 100 fils, with the 25, 50, and 100 fils in silver until 1969. In 1970, 250 fils pieces were introduced, followed by 500 fils and 1 dinar coins in 1982. Coin production ceased after 1990. In 2004, new 25, 50 and 100 dinar coins were introduced. However, these coins proved to be unpopular and were withdrawn from circulation. Banknotes. In 1931, banknotes were issued by the government in denominations of a 1/4, a 1/2, 1 dinar, 5 dinar, 10 dinar and 100 dinar. The notes were printed in the United Kingdom by Bradbury, Wilkinson and Company. From 1931 to 1947, the banknotes were issued by the Iraqi Currency Board for the government of Iraq, and banknotes were convertible into pound sterling. From 1947, the banknotes were issued by the National Bank of Iraq, then after 1954 by the Central Bank of Iraq. 100 dinars notes ceased production in the 1940s, but otherwise, the same denominations were issued until 1978, when 25 dinars notes were introduced. In 1991, 50 and 100 dinars were introduced, followed by 250 dinars notes in 1995 and 10.0 dinars notes in 2002. Banknotes that were issued between 1990 and October 2003, along with a 25 dinars note issued in 1986, bear an idealized engraving of former Iraqi President Saddam Hussein. Following the 1991 Gulf War, Iraq's currency was printed both locally and in China, using poor-grade wood pulp paper and inferior-quality lithography. Counterfeit banknotes often appeared to be of better quality than real notes. Despite the collapse in the value of the Iraqi dinar, the highest denomination printed until 2002 was 250 dinars. In 2002, the Central Bank of Iraq issued a 10,000 dinars banknote to be used for larger and interbank transactions. This note was rarely accepted in practice due to fears of looting and counterfeiting. This forced people to carry around stacks of 250 dinars notes for everyday use. The other, smaller bills were so worthless that they largely fell into disuse. This situation meant that Iraq, for the most part, had only one denomination of banknote in wide circulation. Currency printed before the Gulf War was often called the Swiss dinar. It got its name from the Swiss printing technology that produced banknotes of a considerably higher quality than those later produced under the economic sanctions that were imposed after the First Gulf War. After a changeover period, this currency was disendorsed by the Iraqi government. However, this old currency still circulated in the Kurdish regions of Iraq until it was replaced with the new dinar after the Second Gulf War. During this time the Swiss dinar retained its value, whilst the new currency consistently lost value at sometimes 30% per annum. In 2003, new banknotes were issued consisting of 6 denominations: 50, 250, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, and 25,000 dinars. The notes were similar in design to notes issued by the Central Bank of Iraq in the 1970s and 1980s. A 500 dinars note was issued a year later, in October 2004. In the Kurdish regions of Iraq, the 50 dinar note is not in circulation. In March 2014, the Central Bank of Iraq began replacing banknotes with anti-counterfeiting enhanced versions that include Spark optical security features, scanner-readable guarantee threads in addition to braille embossing to assist vision-impaired persons. Swiss dinar series, 1990 a Euro 2003 series, 2003 a Euro present, exchange rate, see also, British currency in the Middle East, Central Bank of Iraq, Economy of Iraq, Iraqi Swiss dinar, Kuwaiti dinar, references. External links, Coalition Provisional Authority in the Iraqi dinar, Council on Foreign Relations, Benefits of the New Iraqi Dinar Scam, Washington State Department of Financial Institutions Warning, Iraqi dinar scams, Oklahoma Securities Commission warns residents.